Good morning, everyone. Before we get started on circles and sectors, there's a couple of words that I want you to remember and maybe some new ones. I'm not sure. The bit from the middle to the outside, halfway across the circle, is the radius. All the way across the circle, from one side to the other, is the diameter. This bit around the outside, the length of the outside of the circle, is called the circumference. And if you take a piece of the circle, any size piece, little piece or a big piece, that's called a sector. And this little part of the circumference that is the outside part of the sector, that's called an arc. Part of the circumference is called an arc. All right, let's go on with area of sectors and circles. Okay, that looks a bit fancier than my last attempt. Area of a sector. So you know that to find the area of a circle, formula is pi times the radius, pi r squared. But this is only half a circle. So to find the area of half of the circle, we're going to go area equals half of what we already know the area of a circle is, half of pi r squared. So then of course, we write down the formula. Then we're going to fill it up with numbers. We've got a half, and r is 5. So we're going to write half of pi, and 5 squared is 25. So half times pi times 25, which is 39.27. Now we weren't given any units, but if that was meters, that would be meters squared. Okay, over to this one. Area equals, how much of a circle is this one? I think that's a quarter of a circle. There's a little sign, it says it's 90 degrees, which we know is a quarter of 360. So it is a quarter of pi r squared, which is a quarter of pi times 3 squared, which is 9. And then we just pick up the calculator and crank out an answer. 7.07. And again, we weren't given any units, but if that was meters, those would be square meters. Now here's another one. One more here. There's another 2 down below. Area equals, how much of a circle is that? 60 out of 360. That's a sixth of a circle. So a sixth of pi r squared, which equals 1/6 of pi times, the radius is 6, and I know that 6 squared is 36. Okay, calculator time. And again, if that was meters, that would be meters squared. In my calculator, I typed in pi times 25, and then I just went divided by 2. I could have gone times 0.5 or times 1 divided by 2 or whatever. In my calculator here, I went pi times 9, and then I divided it by 4. In here, I went pi times, and I did 36 divided by 6 in my head, and I just went pi times 6. And there's your answer. So if you need help getting those into your calculator, definitely get in touch. But I'm hoping that you can work out the way to do it. With this one, it's not a nice neat fraction of a circle. It's 147 degrees. So again, the area equals some portion of pi r squared. And in fact, this is 147 degrees. And as a fraction, the easiest way I can do this is 147 degrees out of 360, which is a full circle. And in fact, I could have done the same thing up here, and I'm going to. Half, well, that's 180 out of 360. I don't know if you can read that. This is a quarter, that's 90 out of 360, which is the same as a quarter. This we could have written as 60 out of 360. And here we're writing 147 out of 360. All right, so in the calculator, 147 divided by 360 times pi times 7 squared is 49. And what I'm going to put into my calculator, I'm going to do 147 times pi times 49 divided by 360. And I get 62.8586, 62.86, 62.86, and we have got a unit this time, so we just write meters squared. So for the fraction, and in the notes that we'll give you, it'll tell you the angle, which for this one is 180, for this one is 147. It's angle divided by 360 times pi times r times r. And here we are trying to find the area of this sector, and we have not been given the angle. But we have been given this angle. And I think you can use this angle to find the one that's inside. Let's start with the formula. Now instead of writing a fraction, we're going to go angle out of 360 times pi times r squared. Now our angle this time, that's not 240, it's going to be what's left when I start with a full circle and I take 240 away. So I'm going to write 360, take away 240 as my degrees, out of 360 times pi times, I don't know what 120 squared is, so I'll just write it like that. And then cranked into the calculator. I'm going to go 360 take away 240, and I'm going to get 120, times pi times 120 times 120. I could have just used a square symbol. I'm going to press equals, and then I'm going to divide by 360 and get 15,079.64 square centimetres. You need to make sure that you can get all of those answers for those questions with your calculator, and then you can go and try the ones that we've given you, and I will make a separate video for finding the perimeter of the same shapes. Have fun.